What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Men of Order Sports here, and hit that subscribe button if it's your first time here. We're going to talk about the Packers plus 2.5, traveling to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. Over under set at 45.5. Now, this is a really interesting one. We brought it up before on the channel. You know, Mike, you're a Raiders guy, so you know it all too well. But now that the Raiders are in Las Vegas, not much of a home field advantage. Specifically in this case, and the last time we talked about the Raiders was against the Steelers as well.
Yeah,
where that's another situation where the Steelers are a really, really good traveling team. The Packers, they're very well traveled as well. So it's interesting seeing that the Packers are still plus 2.5, because you're not really going to give Vegas the 3 points that you normally get for home games in a game like this, right? Especially, prime time Packers. You got to imagine that they traveled well. So Packers still getting 2 points there, even with that.
Yeah, and it's kind of to me it's a pick'em game, if considering that. And I did say when they did play the Steelers, like I kind of underestimate the Steelers fan base and how they travel. I really do. I did. And maybe that's an indictment on what the Raiders fan base is doing these days, and I can't blame them, right? Because the product on the field isn't reflective of the prices for the game. I said it on my show numerous times. This is a destination for visiting teams where it's like, hey, I'm going to go to Vegas, spend time in Vegas, and go watch my team kick the Raiders' ass on Sunday or Monday night. Yep. So, it's an incentive for these visiting teams to come through and kind of take over a stadium. It's an incentive almost, right? It's almost like bragging rights. So that's why you get what you got. And then on the flip side, the Raiders just aren't winning games. So it's like you got a factor of two things where a fan base is trying to prove we can out show up basically.
Exactly.
So it's a mixture of things, and we're gonna get the same thing with the Packers. And I already heard that it's already in favor of the Packers. The ratio is like almost 55-45. It might be more than that. And if the Raiders continue to lose games, it's going to be even worse. So, but yeah, it's kind of weird that they didn't take that consideration. I would say this is a pick'em game. It goes either way. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. So, no clear edge on either team for the sides as far as that goes. But I mean, are you leaning the Raiders win here in this? I mean, they are the favorites, 2.5, I don't know if they cover that. Maybe they win by 1 or 2 or something, but you thinking they win this game, or you thinking the Packers come through and give the Vegas fans another disappointing loss at home here?
I think the Raiders win this game. And it's going to be a Josh Jacobs game if they do win this game. Josh Jacobs is kind of trending upwards into finally getting into his stride. Now, last week he had 58 yards rushing, or was it 58 yards rushing? But he also had a lot of targets out of the backfield. So his production is starting to kind of take off right now. And I think this week with that interior line kind of not being so great with stopping the run, they have a good rotation of guys that come in for the Packers as far as the interior line goes. But I think that is going to be a lot to ask for them to kind of try to stop Josh Jacobs in between the tackles. And those linebackers are good too. But I think that what the Raiders do best once they get going, that interior O-line can kind of get that good push and go downfield. Now, we haven't seen it all season, but we've also seen, like I said, Josh Jacobs kind of trending upwards, right? So that's why I kind of feel like this is the game for him to finally show up and get his issue in.
Yeah, to your point, you're giving the Packers a lot of credit there, saying, the D-line, they have a really good, rotation, and the linebackers are really good as well. I know you're just being cordial and everything, but the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, they are one of the worst rushing defenses in the league right now. Everybody that they played against that are Josh Jacobs caliber has torched them. Bijan Robinson had 124 yards rushing. David Montgomery is fresh off the last primetime game against the Packers, where he had 121 yards rushing. So we're looking at Josh Jacobs in this game, and we both agree on this play here. We're gonna do a half unit on Josh Jacobs at his over number, 73.5 rushing yards. You're getting that at -110. But also, I just told you the other guys that are on Josh Jacobs' level of actually being a dominant, take over the game style of running back is they all went over 100 yards. They all went over 110 yards. So we're also going to play this. We're going to put another quarter unit on Josh Jacobs for 90 plus rushing yards. You get that at plus 154 on FanDuel right now if you want to shop around, maybe some better odds somewhere else. And then also a quarter unit on Josh Jacobs for 110 plus at plus 300, also on FanDuel. But yeah, so we like him to have a big game here, like the other stud running backs have done against the Packers so far this season.
Yeah. And excuse me for talking lightly, man. The Raiders have humbled me over the years. I can't get too excited about a guy that D line's decent. They can, like.
No, I was giving you credit, though. I was giving you credit. Yeah. You're being cordial. You're being nice to these guys. But I'm gonna hit you with the numbers. They have not been great so far this year against Josh Jacobs style running backs. So
and the numbers speak for itself. Like the front seven hasn't been as advertised. Everybody was coming in that the Packers were gonna have one of the better defenses in the league just as a whole, right? And they really haven't delivered on that end so far this season. So I'm with you on that one. But I tread lightly with the Raiders, so please excuse me for that one. You know what I
mean? No, you're good, bro. You're good. Yeah. But yeah, we like him to break out in this game. Finally, really, really break out. I mean, he had 80 yards receiving last week, but that was in a game where it was Aiden O'Connell at quarterback, not Jimmy G. So they kind of went to him in the passing game, I guess, to kind of settle Aiden O'Connell in as much as they could. We know what they like to do so far with Jimmy G, and Josh Jacobs wasn't really involved in the passing game too much. So I'm not worried about that. I think they're going to run the ball and try to attack this poor Packers defense in terms of the run game, because they are decent in passing game. They're in the top half of the league in terms of how they defend the pass. You got Jimmy G coming off, a missed week. So he might take a second to get in tune. So they want to kind of slow it down with Josh Jacobs running the ball from the start, I would think. And also Devontae Adams is banged up in this one. So, worst case scenario, if he goes down or anything like that, the Raiders are just going to try to slow the clock or run the clock and try to get out of there. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And they can have success doing it against this defense. So
yeah. You don't have to tell me, man. That sounds about right. And kind of flip it a little bit, right? Let's talk about the Packers offense now. Aaron Jones is going to be out for this game. We were kind of waiting for the numbers to pop up. I don't know if the news just came out as of recent, but the numbers they kind of dropped everything on different like betting platforms. Like, okay, we got to reset some stuff. So it's going to be the AJ Dillon show, and he's one of those running backs that is great between the tackles. He's not one of those guys that's going to burn you from the outside and things like that. He wants to ground and pound and get you in between in that interior rush. Right now, that Packers interior line hasn't been great this season. The two guards haven't been playing great. The center is somewhat decent. He's kind of been average according to PFF, but those two guards haven't been playing great. So because of that, I can see the Packers in a lot of obvious passing situations and on third down, even second and long, things like that. And that means it's a Max Crosby show. That just tells me that obvious passing downs. You could put two guys on Max Crosby. He's going to find his way in the backfield. So there you go. One unit for Max Crosby, 0.25 sacks. It's a minus 140. If you even wanted to, find somewhat, a number that's a little bit higher. I don't know if that's possible. Maybe even two, or maybe even just like a solid one, whatever that number is. Mark it down for that one. So. Max Crosby is going to get his issue. He's going to try to take over, especially in those obvious passing downs.
Yeah, this is the safest route of taking a mock or of betting on a Max Crosby sack. But I think there is some markets where you can definitely get like over a half a sack or even one sack in general. I know FanDuel offers one sack, so you could get that number as well. But we're taking the easy route out just in case he just comes up with half a sack. There's a lot of attention on him, obviously. Especially with what Hutchinson was able to do them last week. The Packers, I'm sure they've been game planning a way to kind of chip him and things like that. So, but we're thinking he gets into the backfield for at least a half a sack. That shouldn't be too sweaty. And then, while we're talking about the Raiders defense here, Mike, you could get into this one as well. We're going to put a half unit on Divine Diablo over 7.5 total tackles at plus 106. We don't usually do a lot of defensive props, but this is one of those games where you kind of got to dig in. And these are two really good spots, so we're definitely going to run these today.
Right, and the Packers, they use a lot of 12 personnel. They use the two tight end sets, so and they're going to use it a lot to try to slow down Max Crosby, try to chip him on one side, try to chip the other defensive end on the other side. We saw the Chargers do that last week. Keenan Allen blew up Tyree Wilson. So you could see the Packers kind of similar, put a Dubs kind of in there too, throw in Musgrave, throw in the second tight end. And with that passing game, if they get things going, Musgrave also is going to get his targets. He's going to get his issue in. And with that, Divine Diablo is going to be that guy that kind of be in coverage to make those tackles. So, and Divine Diablo didn't play a great game last week, but if you look at his stats all season, he's had about 8 tackles, 9 tackles. He had double-digit tackles in one game. He's going to be the Raiders' leading tackler when it's all said
most
and done.
days. Yeah.
On most days. So I do like that one. That's a solid bet right there. Usually we don't go defensive props, but this is one to me. It seems like an automatic. This is a lock in for me. So, and there you go. Luke Musgrave over 31.5 receiving yards. The Raiders are, historically they've been not so great with defending the tight end. And if you really do believe in narratives, Luke Musgrave is the nephew of Bill Musgrave, former offensive coordinator for the Raiders back in 2015, 2016, the last time they had like a dynamic offense. Derek Carr was playing at an MVP level at that time. Maybe it's kind of a way for Luke Musgrave, let me do it for family and kind of stick it to him. Maybe the Packers kind of buy into that narrative and target him a lot. I actually really like him for a touchdown as well. I know we didn't put that in there, but it's a plus 255 for Luke Musgrave to get in the end zone. So if you're really feeling that narrative, that's there for you too.
Yeah, it's funny. So everybody listening to this thought that we would bring up the Devontae Adams revenge game before they ever even thought we were going to bring up a Luke Musgrave revenge game. But I'm all for it. Let's go. And to your point,
we're deep in the weeds here, man.
Oh yeah,
we're deep in the weeds.
We went from 2 defensive props to the Luke Musgrave revenge game, man. Like,
yes,
but
sir.
Look, this is all great spots, all going to hit. I know we're joking around right now, but to your point about the Raiders, their defense against the tight ends, they've been getting torched all season so far this year. And they've allowed a touchdown to a tight end in 3 out of the 4 games. The only time they didn't was last week. And I told you this pre-show while we were backstage. The only reason that a tight end didn't catch a touchdown for the Chargers is because Justin Herbert ran 2 touchdowns in. I guarantee you, if he throws both of those that he ran in, tight end's getting one of them. Donald Parham, Jared Everett, you know what I mean? So they were going to allow one if the cards were played correctly. So I definitely like the Luke Musgrave flyer as well for a touchdown.
Yep, definitely. And speaking of narratives, right? The other one, the kickers, the brothers kickers right there, Daniel Carlson, Anders Carlson brothers on both teams. Hey, look for them to kind of, get the brotherly competition going in. Raiders, kind of slow down in the red zone. That's what we've been doing historically for the last few years. Get a lot of field goals in, and the Packers as well. Both teams are struggling on offense. And, I can see them kind of getting down the field and just coming up short in that red zone or even like in positive territory, and then cranking out the kickers out there and getting their issue in and getting 2 field goals each. I know it's over 1.5 for both of them, but both of them together in a parlay is a plus 351. So I do like that one. So narratives all around across the board for this game is pretty fun.
Yeah, and for that one, we weren't even thinking of narrative. Well, for Musgrave as well, we actually walked into these narratives. We thought about these after we made the plays, just so you guys know. We're not just playing it just because of that. That's just an extra incentive where we're like, all right, look, that can make some sense. That's a cool narrative there. Both teams, they play that style of game, and it's that Monday night prime time. We always talk about these situations in some of these primetime games where the games get a little weird and sloppy. And, these are 2 teams that they end up kicking field goals. They get down to field goal range and then stall out on offense. We got Aaron Jones out on one side. We got Devontae Adams shaking up on the other side. Those are 2 of the main touchdown scorers that would be featured in this game. I love this play, especially if Josh McDaniels is going to be kicking field goals down 8 with a minute left. Like, I mean, how does this not hit? You know what I mean?
Right. Tell you, if he does that again,
I'm sorry I had to throw that in. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry.
If he does that again, dude, I think Raider fans is going to charge the field, man, because it's getting to a boiling point at this point right now. It's like, man, and even in the red zone, I mean, I hate to kind of go on a tangent, but even that final drive against the Chargers last week, they ran that same play where it got picked off. They ran it on a previous drive when they were in the same territory, 3-yard line. They ran the exact same play. The first time, Aiden O'Connell throws it out of bounds. This time Aiden O'Connell tries to, throw it to Jacoby Myers and it gets picked off. So the lack of creativity on offense and the lack of, good judgment, putting your quarterbacks in good situations is the reason why Josh McDaniels is kind of on the hot seat big time right now. Including many other reasons why. But if I had to highlight some reasons, those are the reasons why this season. So, but yeah, I digress on that one. That's kind of where we're at with the Raiders.
Yeah, and then real quick, since we got another narrative, now this one is super just a narrative play. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Yeah. I'm just throwing this out there, but it's a nice flyer. So look, Thursday Night Football, we had DJ Moore get 3 touchdowns. That's a wide receiver. Sunday Night Football, we had George Kittle get 3 touchdowns. That's a tight end. Monday Night Football, all 3 primetime games. We're going for one of these running backs here. It was going to be Aaron Jones in that spot, but he got ruled out. So we're looking at A.J. Dillon. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily going to happen for A.J. Dillon, but in case it is A.J. Dillon, I got to throw that in there. But I would be looking at Josh Jacobs as one that I actually could see this, actually coming to fruition with these primetime games this week.
Yeah, they say that, when somebody dies or something dies, it happens in threes. So if defenses get killed right here, look for one of those guys to get 3 touchdowns.
There you go.
The number 3 is the number of the week, it seems like. So if you do believe in that, man, hey, one of the 2, sprinkle a little bit in both of them. I really do like that.
Yeah, and then, obviously there's ways you can play this. You don't have to just take a flyer just on that. You could take him for anytime touchdown, take some of that profit and put it on 2 touchdowns. As long as he gets 2, then you're way in the green. And then, take a little bit of that first touchdown profit as well, or that anytime touchdown profit, not to be confused with first touchdown. You could take that as well. And then, if he does get the 3, then you really made bank. But speaking of first touchdown, that was going to be our first touchdown pick as well if we had to pick one. So maybe you take that as well. And then, actually, you know what? You do take that as well because DJ Moore was the first touchdown and George Kittle was the first touchdown. Yep, so really, you would take all 3 of those. You would take or all 4 of those. So sprinkle them. You know what I mean? Just throwing these out there. It says flyer right there. Nobody come crazy at me when they don't score or whatever. But,
right. Hey,
but I think you take all 3. I mean, all 4. I think that's the way to play it.
Yeah, definitely, man. And
see what happens.
Josh Jacobs, anytime touchdown. If you want to be real super safe, is -145 for 1 touchdown. So. That's the one to look at. I like Josh Jacobs' first touchdown here, +450. Get him involved early. And then on the flip side, A.J. Dillon is a +650 for first touchdown. So either one.
Yeah, in case that happens too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So just got to throw it out there just in case somebody's interested.
Definitely. So, I mean, I think that about wraps it up, right? You got anything else you wanted to mention here?
That's about it. I got the score 23-20. Okay. Raiders. So under, if you're buying into that.
So you're looking at go ahead. Yeah. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
So 45.5. So 43 total. I'm not super confident in that, but I'm throwing out there my score prediction: 23-20 Raiders.
Yeah. So you're looking at a Raiders cover as well as the under there. Yep. Raider Nation. I just gotta say, I know I poke fun at you guys, especially when I got Big Mike here. He's a good sport, so we joke around about it. But I am repping you guys today. I'm repping the set. I got my Las Vegas mug that I got last year. So
respect,
you know what I mean? So I'm here rooting for the Raiders. Let's go. And hoping for a big day from Josh Jacobs. I mean, if Josh Jacobs gets 110 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, woo, we had a great day. So let's see what happens. All right, man. Everybody, best of luck betting. Like, you got anything else?
That's it, man. That's it.
Sounds good. Hit that subscribe button. Head over to Mike's channel as well. Follow us on Twitter, MLO_sports. I'm going to put the same game parlay out as always on the Twitter. So make sure you follow us there. And if you don't have Twitter, then make one and follow us on Twitter. And it's nice and easy. You know what I mean? Like, you don't got to follow everybody, but if you want the parlay, just, follow us over there and you'll get it. And that's that. Best of luck betting, everybody. Peace.